North and South, 640,000 Americans. Americans, all of them, 640,000. And oh, by the way, releasing 3.9 million slaves. Black America doesn't know, they don't know these numbers, by the way. I didn't, they don't. I was Lieutenant Commander of the Navy, 300 carrier landings on the USS Independence. I've led people all over the world. I had no idea. And if I'm supposedly an educated person, and I don't know, guess what? They don't know at all. Who here knows about Juneteenth celebrations? Juneteenth celebrates June 19, 1865, when the last slave in Texas was informed, Galveston, Texas was informed that he was free. And since that day, the third Friday in June has been the celebration of Juneteenth. What is it that the Tea Party is fighting for? Freedom. And remember I said that the Declaration of Independence was true in principle but not yet in practice. Guess when it became true in practice? When all Americans were free. There are two times that we fought for freedom. American Revolution and the Civil War. And at the end of the Civil War, the Declaration of Independence closed its gap, was true not only in principle but in practice. I came up with what's called the American First Initiative. And it goes like this. I am an American first. I hold no other God before my God. I hold no other family before my family. I hold no other country before my country. I am not a hyphenated American. I am an American first. And we need to celebrate our Americanism, defined by freedom. And if we celebrate the 4th of July as the #1 day to celebrate freedom, and we celebrate the third week in June as the #2 day to celebrate freedom for all Americans, then what might happen to us? Maybe we might come together. Maybe those divisions in our society will start to break down. And maybe it's the idea of freedom that will unite us all. There's some websites I want you guys to take a look at. Reverend Myers is the chairman of the Juneteenth organization. And there are Juneteenth celebrations all over the country. I believe it's 37 states now commemorate Juneteenth, and he's working on all of them. I believe there's one in Pensacola. There will be one in Ocala, Florida. For Tea Party Solutions, I'm going to be down at the Tea Party Solutions in Ocala, Florida, celebrating Juneteenth this June. And you can get other information from those other websites. Now, the 13th Amendment was passed in 1865. It abolished slavery in America forever. The slavery, no more servitude. But there was a vote count for that. The vote count was 100% Republican support. 100% Republican support. Democrats? 23%. 23%. The 14th Amendment, passed in 1868, it allowed the newly freed slaves to become citizens of the United States. It also had a vote count. The vote count was 94% Republican support, nearly 100%. Democrats? 0%. Not one Democrat voted for it. 0%. The 15th Amendment, passed in 1870. And it basically said that you cannot discriminate against somebody just because of the color of their skin. My goodness, they're Americans, let them vote. 100% Republican support. Democrats? 0%. 0%. Now, this statement was so profound that I put it on the front of my book. And it kind of gives you an insight into what we're dealing with. Let me get rid of that. In 1880, the New York Times wrote an article that basically said this. So long as slavery and the war linger within the memory of Americans, the youth of the Republic will continue to grow up Republicans. And slavery and the war will be remembered as long as the public school system exists. The public schools have slain the Democratic Party with the textbooks. You see, in 1880, when our kids went to school, they got their first reader, and on one side it would say Abraham Lincoln, Republican, freed the slaves. On the other side it would say Jefferson Davis, Democrat, wanted to extend slavery. So kids looked at that and they said, oh my goodness, I'd rather be on the Lincoln side. I'm going to be a Republican. Because their platform was to stop the spread of slavery. The opposite of slavery is freedom. They're the party of freedom. They're the party of individual liberty. And so if you are a Democratic Party leader, and you get power back, what might be the first thing you'd want to do to the textbooks? Just pluck that information out of there. And for generations, we've been living with incomplete, at least incomplete, information. Let me share some of that with you now. And we're going to wrap up here in about 5 minutes. Jefferson Davis was the president of the Confederacy. He was also a senator from the state of Mississippi. He was also a Democrat. After the war, he was imprisoned for treason for 2 years. He was released, and in 1870, they replaced him in the Senate. They replaced him with a Republican. His name was Hiram Rhodes Revels. Please raise your hand if you know the name Hiram Rhodes Revels. I have one person. One person. The interesting thing, and the curious fact about Hiram Rhodes Revels, not only was he a Republican, the first in the state of Mississippi, not only did he replace the president of the Confederacy as a senator, he was also the first black senator in U.S. history. And nobody has ever heard of him. There were more. Would you guys like to meet them? Now that is quite amazing. Raise your hand if you've ever seen these people before. I have 2, 3 people. You think it might make a difference? It's never been about black versus white. It's always been about good versus evil. It's always about control. If you control the information, you control the people. Plain and simple. Happens all over the world. And this is what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen. This is what's going to bring us together. And men will recognize that out of one blood, God made all men to dwell upon the face of the earth. Let us be dissatisfied until the day when nobody will shout white power, when nobody will shout black power, but everyone will talk about God's power and human power. Thank you very much for having me today. I wish I could do more, but I'm on a limited time here. My book is out front. Obviously, it has a lot of information in there that I can't talk about here because I don't have the time. But the important thing is to get the message out. We get to get it out to as many people as possible. Now, any questions?